thank you for joining our very first podcast on LandSkyAI. Today we have our very first guest, Jake Shield, our CEO of the company and founder. Hi, Jake Shield. How you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Thanks for having me. Really excited to get this podcast off the ground with you.
Of course. So tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got in this business.
Yeah, so originally I come from a security integration background. Basically, security's been in my blood since the beginning, family business. So winters, summers was whether I wanted to or not, was stuck working there. Whether it was install at first, helping on the technical side, and then doing some IT related work, and then even worked my way into actually being a part of the strategy and just even some of the financial aspects as well, while still making sure I kept some of those technology roots, especially because I found it the most interesting side of the security business. So that's really where my original background comes from. It does actually play a major role in the founding of the company as well, but really that's what kind of got me involved in security and technology as a whole.
Of course. And do you have a certain point within that timeline where you saw the opportunity to bring in autonomous robotics and drones?
Yeah, so there's actually about a few years ago is when I first encountered what we call drone-in-a-box systems. And I'm not on this podcast going to go into deep detail on, say, technology or the actual system itself. Really just need to know that it's an automated drone system, and ran into that a few years ago. And that's when I was still in the security integration world. Was super interesting to see. Technology looked amazing. We all looked at it. We're like, this is the future of security. I'm excited to use it. And then we were looking at it, we were like, oh, this will be a totally simple, it's resell. It's like any other security device we put out there or any other technology. Quickly realized that was not the case. It's obviously very complex technology. Even if it is automated, there's a long list of hurdles that you could run into that really prevented you from being able to have a really truly automated solution and have it actually be efficient. So some of these issues are related to just operator training, others to obviously, especially on the drone side, a lot of us know about the regulations, to even just maintenance. How am I going to upgrade the system? How do I know I keep up with the latest technology? And there's a long list. It just goes on. And so then about a little over a year ago, had a thought that maybe we can make a company that actually solves all these hurdles to adoption. And really that's where LandSkyAI was born.
Awesome. And what kind of sets LandSkyAI apart from other companies that, say, are manufacturers or the process of integrating robotics into end users' properties?
Yeah, so we realized that there's already really great hardware out there. So we looked at the problem and realized we didn't want to go reinventing the wheel. We didn't want to go recreating hardware that we know already works itself. So really what we wanted to focus on was what our goal became of making the adoption of robotics simple. So what we're looking at there is, instead of just selling a robotic system and then really expecting the customer themselves to have to do most of the work or expend a lot of resources to use the systems, or possibly even, say, some different security partners then having to learn a whole new line of business, really didn't logically line up with the supposed benefits of robotics for something that's supposed to make everything easier and more simple for the lives of end users. So we took a path where we focused more on what we could provide in an end-to-end package that allows for the seamless adoption process. And this means we take care of everything from customizing the solution to each use case, integrating it on their site, whether it's to, say, an access system, a video system, to offering remote operators to actually be like virtual guards or virtual concierge for systems, to maintenance, and even more. Really what we were looking to do was solve all the problems that I was describing before, and we're offering a package that sees us put in the resources on our side for automation that then allows the customer to have to put in as little effort as possible.
Of course. And also, on a point with integrating this into end users' properties, do you see this as more of a replacement or more as a supplementary tool that guards or end users can use for their security operations?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I like to always use the term force multiplier. So really when I'm talking about the systems, I know especially these days, just AI in general makes people think of maybe people losing work or people being replaced. And really, that's not the case. A lot of times you're just filling in roles that they can't hire for, or they're really looking to enhance the ability of the people on site. So especially as it relates to guarding, I compare it to, it's a lot of liability and it's a lot of risk. If you send a guard out there as first contact when they're on a patrol, if someone does actually have bad intentions, you'd much rather have it be maybe someone punches a robot or starts attacking that as opposed to an actual individual. So that's always what I look at it's really a force multiplier. It keeps others safer, including the ones who are using it. And then even on top of that, I say really these systems are great for situational awareness. So then even if you are retaining the same staff, which makes complete sense, then you at least know what you're going into with each scenario if something was detected.
All right, so on that note, are there any specific areas where you believe drone and robotic solutions will be particularly effective, where they might not be widely adopted yet?
Of course, I'm going to mention security. That's my background. And really what I'm going to do, though, here is focus on industries where I think you're seeing a lot of difficulties with labor shortages. Even before COVID, there was a difficult labor situation in a lot of industries out there. But I think we all watch the news after COVID, it only became more difficult, really in a wide variety of spaces. But a couple of focus on now is, as we were talking already a little bit about guarding, companies, whether it's a guarding company itself or a direct customer that does need to hire a guarding staff, having more and more challenges actually finding people to fill all the shifts that they're required to cover. I want to key on that point too. Again, going back to what we were talking about before, it's not necessarily saying, hey, we're going to replace this guard. It's actually just filling in for shifts that are difficult to fill right now, or possibly even augmenting the actual staff that's on site and even allows them to actually focus resources elsewhere. But guarding, you definitely see a very logical placement for these systems. Again, it's very high turnover industry, and you are seeing a lot of difficulty to retaining effective employees in that space. Another one I want to focus on is just healthcare as a whole, and specifically as it relates to logistics in hospitals. Very difficult to hire for most roles right now, whether it's nursing to even, say, pharmacy, and really the list goes on. But you do have many positions now that they're then having to do multiple jobs, which, again, another example for something like this is a pharmacist having to deliver needed medication maybe on the floors, or maybe you get delays in supplies being transported since you might not have as many individuals or runners actually working. So I do believe you're going to see a lot more automation in that space. Of course, I could go on for a bit. Heavy industries, I always like to mention because they usually are the sites where you have immense numbers of people, large properties that really need to be protected, and automation really helps them. And it does alleviate a lot of their concerns, since it is actually able to cover a lot of areas that maybe is difficult to get humans to. I could really go on. I do think there's very positive impact from this technology, and I think it really is going to help out a lot of sectors.
So on that note, all of these industries already have security systems in place. So what are your thoughts on the integration of drones and robots with other security technologies such as surveillance cameras and access control systems?
So I do think integrations like that are going to be critical for widespread adoption of this technology. It kind of goes back to even on a consumer side, we don't want to have more and more apps or things that we're going to. We want to keep having it where we're at least able to go to one main page. And same thing for security users. They don't want to keep adding new platforms that they're going on. They want to have it where they could have those robotics giving them valuable information, but actually even coming back to, say, streaming the video back maybe as a robot response to an access control alarm, or maybe a video detection from an onboard camera, leading to an operator being able to activate a drone or something similar to fly out. So really you're going to want to be able to know that you are getting alarms that are filtering in, having the system able to respond, knowing you could get those video feeds. That's all going to be very critical. Even as it relates to, say, the logistics side, if you do have some form of a delivery robot, you do need to have interaction between the local infrastructure and the robot, such as the doors, elevators, even other systems need to be activated with it so that it could actually operate fully autonomously.
And with all these integrations and certain robots and drones working with other security systems, all of those are kind of innovations and trends that are up and coming. Have you witnessed any of these trends or innovations in the drone or robotic security industry in your career thus far?
Yeah, so kind of like I described above, I have noticed more and more of the integration of these systems, or at least the touting of integration with various systems like this. I know it's one of our main focuses, but another one I want to highlight is the adoption of cloud technology to actually be used for, say, like a fleet control system to actually operate the systems or be able to monitor them remotely from really anywhere around the globe. I think that's a huge part. Even though cloud and technology like that isn't completely new, the ability to use a platform like that over the web, this is going to be another critical item for adoption, as it creates an even easier path for remote operations. Because one of the points of this too is, say you have a remote site somewhere, you don't want to have it be a difficult process to be able to access the system or check in on the health of it and get it connected to different resources. And having that internet availability or the cloud platform does make it a much smoother process to integrate with other technologies. And another trend I did want to mention is actually related more so with the video analytic technology, and specifically on the cameras on these drones or robots. I think this is huge. Obviously, people have been building solutions with this for a little while now, but essentially before, you really just had very effective moving cameras that still had to be very closely monitored. And we were even working hard on this because we see it as a critical point to actually deliver to customers. You know, you want to be able to hear that your drone actually had spotted a person after hours, or maybe your robot spotted a car that's been on the property multiple times or more than it should be, maybe sees a license plate. So really being able to get more reliable information and alerts from the video that's coming in from the systems, I think that's going to just be a trend that keeps picking up, and the technology keeps getting very quickly better and better.
So a part of the adoption process for the industry as a whole, a question that everybody's going to ask is cost. So how do you see the cost effectiveness of drones and robotic solutions compared to traditional methods?
So definitely at first, systems were very expensive. You go back 5 or so years, very difficult to make a return on investment argument, or just would be a while before you'd even be able to realize some ROI on those projects. Now we're at a point where costs have come down as there's more manufacturers in the space. There's a lot more competition. There's more economy of scale as well, but there is a lot more competition out there, which is actually great for end users. So you get it where now on one side, when you're competing, you are getting better technology. Everyone's trying to build a better solution. Then on the other side, you have it where obviously when you are competing, price is coming down a bit on the solutions as well. So this is great for the adoption process. You do have it now where that hourly cost is getting to a point where it makes sense to include in a shift, say, whether it's guarding or something else where labor costs are going up, being able to cover, say, one of the shifts using a system like this. Maybe it's part of the overnight shift, or you couldn't actually hire enough again, and now you actually can see, okay, the hourly cost actually is not anything too restrictive. So that's actually been a huge effect on the industry, really, is how the price has come down now. It's allowing organizations actually keep filling in for these areas they can't hire right now. So I think we're in a good place with drones and robotics with where the prices are and what everyone's actually able to offer to customers.
And the effectiveness only gets better and the cost goes down. So it's always in the increasing value of the market. All right. So now we get to the exciting part of the podcast where we get to talk about the future. So what are you most excited to see happen in the drone and robotics industry?
Yeah, so I'm very excited to see how we as just people adapt to robotics becoming a part of our normal lives. So again, I go back to, I know there's always some issues or fears when it comes to surveillance or even the general adoption of AI, but all these tools are really being put out there to make our lives either easier or safer in some capacity. And I go back to my point before, why put a human as the first contact in harm's way if you could just send a robot to take the damage instead? Or why spend hours upon hours on a tedious task that maybe some form of AI or robot can actually take care of very quickly and allow you to work on something that's maybe more impactful? I'm really excited to see people actually buy into it more, kind of help spread the message of how we could use it to really help ourselves as people by using and leveraging the technology. Even just going back to the point about some of the normal AI you're seeing, even in other industries. I mean, everyone always talks about kind of, even with writing, other stuff, how much easier it does actually help or allows us to even become more effective with what we're working on. So I'm just really excited to see how we actually start to adopt this technology as people and really bring that into our lives more. And I do think it's going to become more and more common every year just to keep seeing more drones or robotic systems popping up. I do have a belief that I think some of this hardware is going to become more commoditized, similar to what you had happen with other devices or hardware technology that's out there. And really, we're going to start to understand their tools that we can make even more effective or work for us, as opposed to tools that are working against us.
Yep. And the industry being one of the fastest growing industries in the world, as a CEO, how do you see the future career prospects within the drone and robotic security industry? And what skills do you think will be in high demand?
Yeah, so I do think the growth is going to keep up, which is going to help for the career prospects in general. There is still a lot of funding going to the industry, which only helps actually creating more jobs in the industry itself. In my opinion, similar to other industries, I think there's going to be very large demand for technicians and even operators of the system. Each system, it requires an install process, preventative maintenance, service, replacement, really similar to a lot of other advanced hardware that's out there. And we are going to need skilled technicians that are capable of performing these tasks as these systems continue to get deployed around the globe. Because I put it like this, think of how many companies and sites there are around the globe, even if you're just focused on larger ones. And now imagine just even a small percent of these sites do have a drone or robot in their property. Someone's going to have to be available to install, maintain these systems, service them. So I really think that's going to be a huge aspect, is who's going to be able to, or who's going to take advantage of knowing there's this demand for technicians in the space or more specialized operators. And I think it'd be a very exciting and fulfilling career to be a part of as well.
Awesome. So that brings us to the very end of our podcast. Thank you, Jake, for being a part of it. I think that everybody listening got a little bit more knowledge about LandSkyAI and the drone and robotic industry as a whole. Tune in to our next podcast around in February. Jake, is there any last words you'd like to say before we go?
No, I had a great time speaking on here. I'm really excited to see where the industry goes as a whole and really excited to be a part of it.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, and catch you later.